veterinarian assistant.
I'm Dr. Alicia Lima Eid, a veterinarian.
I'm Heather, I'm one of the technicians, and together we are
The Bark at Beaties. The Bark at Beaties is our official podcast that we decided to start up because we figured pet parents, clients, everybody has questions that maybe they don't have an opportunity to ask when they're at the clinic and you're talking about it. So we decided we would chime in and try and answer some misconceptions, things that come up on the daily for us. Yeah.
And in this segment, we're going to be addressing
ticks. We're going to do some TikTok.
We're going to do some TikTok today.
Yeah.
Things that we forget to ask in appointments, or some of the questions that come to us when we're in the middle of binge watching our favorite shows and we forgot to ask the veterinarian during the appointment.
Yeah. And anybody who's been in an appointment with me doing wellness, you'll know that if we are on the topic of ticks, you're going to be there for at least another 15 minutes. So hopefully this helps with that appointment flow as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in ticks. I think it's becoming something that we are seeing more of. Yeah. I think ticks like 10 years ago wasn't as much of an issue or a hot topic as it is today. And we're seeing a lot of pets come in with ticks. A lot of owners have questions about them. There's some that are very common to this area, some we worry about that carry very specific diseases. So yeah, a lot to talk about. I think the first thing about ticks is the good news is that there is prevention available. There's tips that we're going to go through on how you can reduce your exposure to ticks and also reduce family's exposure, reduce your pet's exposure, and what to watch for when you're worried about there being a tick exposure.
And when it comes to exposure, what we've noticed is within the last couple of years, just due to the increase in temperatures, is they are at our front door. They are coming up from this, southern regions, maybe some places in Ontario where they weren't so prevalent 10 years ago. They are absolutely there now. And it's showing up in our 4DX testing.
100%.
Yeah, and the 40X is what we call our heartworm tests because it tests for not only heartworm, but 3 other diseases. So the DX stands for disease. So it's testing for heartworm and Lyme disease, which is a big problem in our area, along with 2 other tick-borne diseases, which numbers might surprise you guys.
Yeah,
what we're running into.
I think it's important when you come in for your appointments and you'll have an assistant, Megan or whoever, and say, are we going to be doing that heartworm test or 4DX testing? And that's a nice thing. It does not just test for heartworm disease. So if you hear, do you want to do your heartworm test, it's actually looking past just heartworm. And I think we are trying to be more conscientious about saying, let's do your heartworm and tick screening test because it does more than just your heartworm test. And yeah, Heather, you have some numbers about the prevalence, I guess, and prevalence meaning how often we're seeing things like Lyme and then other tick-borne diseases in this area, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So there's a website called CAPC, the Canadian Animal Parasite Council, that actually has maps that track how many positive cases we're seeing of different things, whether it's heartworm, Lyme disease, and actually Anaplasma and Ehrlichia, which are 2 diseases that aren't so common to our area. But the problem is they've been tracking it, and we're going to be testing pets that are either showing signs or getting screened for heartworm. So sometimes we're looking for Lyme positives, like the beginning of this year. In Ontario, we're already at over 6,000 pets testing positive for Lyme. In our practice alone, 2026, we are already at 5 new Lyme positives, 5 old Lyme positives, because once you have Lyme disease in your system, it doesn't just get treated and then go away. It actually stays behind, and you can actually have flare-ups going on from time to time. So your pet may test positive for the first time year 1, and then we'll expect it to come back year 2, year 3, and we'll actually ask about how's your pet doing? Are we showing any signs of lameness, tiredness? Because yeah, like it's gnarly. But 2026, we're at 5 positives in our clinic alone. In our postal code for Lyme, we're at 90 for this year. So 27 for this year so far in our postal code. So that's just the pets from our clinic and other clinics, and we're already at 10 of those. Lyme positives 2025, we were at 90 in our postal code. and our clinic accounted for 27 of those, so about a third. So
we're
some
seeing
really
it.
gnarly
We're
numbers.
seeing it for sure. And, like Heather said, when you have Lyme disease, it's important to talk to your veterinarian about, what does that mean? What does that mean for your pet? Because the diagnosis of Lyme disease doesn't indicate, the worst thing that can happen. It's, there's different steps to determining, okay, been exposed to Lyme, and that's what your 40X or your heartworm test, heartworm tick test checks for. It says, has there been an exposure? And if there has, then there are more steps involved to say, is there something that needs to be done about it, or are we just finding information that we've been exposed?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to an Earth Angel come into my life in the form of a yellow lab last year. And one of the things I wanted to do was because I had very limited knowledge of what his prior health was to me obtaining him, I wanted to do the 40X test, among other things. Unfortunately, on that 40X test, or fortunately enough, so that I'm aware of it anyway, he did come up as an exposure to Lyme. So what I did as a pet owner, and to the advice of my wonderful DVM, was I went ahead and moved forward with the Quan C6, which is a blood test with a UA incorporated in it. That let me know that he had no active infection. He wasn't symptomatic at the time. It was able to pick up a UTI on the urine aspect of that. So back on the antibiotics, but we were able to forego any kind of aggressive antibiotics due to the fact that there wasn't any ongoing infection. Now, having said that, he is doing great. He's on prevention, and we vaccinated for Lyme.
Yeah,
as well.
No, that's great. And yeah, so that Quant C6 test that Megan is talking about, that's the test that tells you exactly, is there an active infection that we need medication for, or is this exposure? We're going to watch for things in the future to tell us if he's sick, if he needs medication. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You go looking for one thing and surprise, you found a UTI.
That's right. That's right. Only my dog.
Well, it's never ending. If the general rule of thumb is if you have a staff pet, that's the one where things are going to go wrong with. Whether you get them with problems or they develop problems, because it's a veterinary pet. And I think anybody who works in the veterinary industry will tell you that vet staff, their pets are terrible for being lemons and having things.
We do attract the lemons.
Yeah.
No.
So, I mean, Megan brought up a good point. I'm just going to jump off that, talking about, okay, so yeah, there's, a diagnosis of Lyme. Now, what do we do for either pets that, we know they have that predisposition? So they're out, they're in contact, clearly because you came up Lyme positive. So what things do we do to kind of prevent any future tick exposure or things? And you mentioned the Lyme vaccine, and you also mentioned prevention. So a few different options available. And I always tell clients, it's not a one size fits all. It's going to be dependent on what's important for your pet. What are your exposure levels? And when we talk about exposure levels, like not that long ago, you had to be going camping. You had to be going to Turkey Point. You had to be going for hikes and in the long grass. And as Jurassic Park would tell you, don't go into the long grass, not only for dinosaurs, but ticks.
Right.
Now that's not the case. Now you can be in your own backyard. You can be walking in your neighborhood, and there's ticks out there that have Lyme disease, and we see it. I had my neighbor come up to me the other day as I was packing up my dog because we were going for a Timbit and coffee run. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, like, just to let you know, I found a tick walking on my patio stone in my backyard." And I don't live in a rural community. I live in a suburb in Hamilton, in a just a regular suburb, and he found them in his backyard. So they are there, and we want to try and prevent them from attaching to our pets, from transmitting disease. Because if we can not only prevent them from attaching to our pets, that is also going to help kill them off, so that they don't transmit any future disease into the environment and to the next generation of ticks. Also to help prevent them from being successful in living in our homes and burrowing in our blankets, because that is awful.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever had any pets bring ticks in. It's you're paranoid instantly, every little thing, and you're like, it's a tick, it's a tick.
Oh yeah, no, the creepy crawlies definitely happen. And one time I hopped through a ditch, and then hours later I felt something tingling on my skin, and I looked, and not one, not two, but 3 American dog ticks.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it was like that time of the year where it was American dog ticks that are happening, because up until very recently, any tick that's been brought into the clinic has been a deer tick.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 American dog ticks so far, which don't carry Lyme disease in our area. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
They've got their own problems. But no, deer ticks have become a real problem in our area.
And we actually have a visual aid up at our front desk that we're able to, when we take a tick off of an animal, put them in a casing so that even our clients are able to see how many ticks we're pulling off pets at each month or each juncture. I can remember 20 years ago when I started here, ticks weren't even on the radar.
Yeah.
It was heartworm that we were focused on, and now I'm seeing a complete 180, and these little critters are the ones that are doing the most damage, and they're very prevalent.
And because ticks can carry Lyme disease, and we know Lyme disease is transmissible to people as well. So it's not only a concern for our pets, but I mean, Avril Lavigne, why you got to be so complicated with the Lyme disease?
Right?
Yeah.
Yolanda Foster, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Like I could go on and on.
The Bieber, right? Justin Bieber, I'm pretty sure he had Lyme.
I don't have any celebrities, but I know a few of our. I've had a few conversations with clients who know people who have Lyme disease, and there's even people in my community.
And see, so this is a prime example of how Heather brings it back, right?
Yeah.
Megan and I get on a tangent,
Lighten up.
celebrity, Beverly Hills, and Heather brings us right on back and regains control of the situation before it spirals. But
It is in our backyard.
yes, that's the point. It is in our backyard. So we want to prevent them, like we were talking about. So one of the things, your veterinarian and your vet staff will talk to you about is prevention. And prevention looks like a variety of things. Megan Glasgow, her dog, is vaccinated. So the nice thing about the vaccine is that it's kind of a yearly thing. It's a one and done for that year. You come in, you get the injection.
One and done if they're continuing it.
Yes. Yeah. So they'll be, yes, thank you. So yes, you'll come in for your vaccine. 1 month, you'll get a booster if that's the first time your dog has had it. And then after that, it's a yearly vaccine. So one and done. But in the sense of, you have your Lyme vaccine, then your pet is protected against Lyme disease for that year. Because if you're the kind of person who lives in an area where there is a very high risk of Lyme, or your dog is going camping, like all these things just increase the potential for exposure. And then there's also the very traditional aspect of the once a month tablets. There's a variety of different companies and types, and that's a discussion to have with your veterinarian on what suits your lifestyle. But very commonly, it is a monthly oral chewable that you give your pet, and it protects against a variety of things. So not just Lyme disease, it's heartworm, because we can't forget about that. That will be a different podcast. I think that a different episode that we will talk more about that. But a lot of these preventions protect against heartworm. It protects against ticks, a variety of ticks. It's not just the deer tick that we're worried about. There are other diseases and other ticks. And then of course fleas. Don't forget about fleas, because they don't care. They want a warm body to chew on, and they will also invade in your environment, and it's not fun. So those are the most common preventions, I think.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was able to, I think you and I had done a little bit of CE on the actual Lyme vaccine itself.
Yeah, yes.
So something that was picked up that I wasn't ever aware of is the fact that once you vaccinate your pet against the Lyme vaccine, and we've built up antibodies, a tick that's now going to bite that pet who's had the Lyme vaccine, there's a component in the vaccine itself which enables that tick from spreading Lyme further.
Yes.
Which is a huge prevention when you look at it in a long, in the big picture aspect of that. If I knew that, now any tick that does happen to bite my dog is now unable to infect another pet, well, I feel like I'm doing my due diligence as a pet owner and, kind of keeping things at bay there.
You're being the hero we all need.
I'm trying.
It's hard.
Being a helper of public health for sure.
That's right.
Like, you don't think about it, but weather has been so wild lately that even December we were having days above 0 degrees half the month in December. January, same idea. And the ticks don't care what time of year it is. If it's above 0 degrees, especially the deer ticks that are carrying Lyme, they're going to be active. There was a study that had come out about that. And that's why it's so important that, like, oh, my pet's on prevention, June to November should be good. December rolls around, you might be out of prevention, or you might have forgotten. But if your pet's vaccinated against Lyme, that's where the vaccine really truly helps, is because it's not going to kill the tick, but it's going to get rid of the thing that we hate so much about those ticks, that bacteria that's growing in them. Because ideally, depending on your lifestyle, we'll want you on that prevention year round. Especially if you tell me that you guys are going to be hunting with your dogs. You're going on prevention.
Absolutely. And good point. Every day above 0 degrees is a tick-friendly day. Yep. I was up in the Muskoka region early, mid-April, and we had snow the one day up there, but most of the time it was absolutely over 0 degrees. And I mean, I saw ticks on chipmunks up there even. So definitely they're out and about already. That's
And that's another thing that you will probably hear from, you know, your vet staff, and things that we do recommend is kind of expanding that window of when your pet should be on prevention. So yes, very historically, you know, the labels, I think they're even preset in a lot of the labels of like, oh, June to November. Yes, historically that was the time where we would see above 0 temperatures. But I mean, this past weekend it was beautiful, and it was definitely above 0 degrees. So there is that benefit to having your pet on prevention year round, because you do have days, many days in December and in January even, where it's warm weather. And again, you know, when we're talking about ticks being in our neighborhoods, in our environment, any of those like little collection areas where the leaves all blow in and they just kind of congregate, that is a wonderful nesting environment for ticks. So, you know, I think about my own dogs, and we're on walks and they're like, you know, nose in the bushes where all that mulch and all that stuff has just kind of congregated. Who do you think's living in that debris? It's the ticks. So you just need a little bit of sun on that. It warms them right up. They come to life. They're hungry, and they jump on your pet. So it's not uncommon now to have your pet on prevention year round. So it's definitely warranted. And then that way you can kind of have peace of mind too, that you know, when your pet is coming in, they're not bringing in little hitchhikers. Or if they are and you're worried about that, one thing that I always recommend is when you come in, have a little brush or a towel or one of those fiber cloths, microfiber cloths.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And just give your pet a rub down, especially on their legs if they have any feathers on their fur, behind their ears, and between their toes, because that is the spots that are going to have been in contact. Give them a brush, so that way you're hopefully knocking them off before they get into your couch, because that is not fun.
Especially when the females, when they're done having their meal, they're going to lay eggs.
Yeah, yuck.
Which will hatch into more babies.
Ooh, and we have a picture, actually. It will be on our social media, the Bark at Beaties, or on our Facebook, where a client brought in a tick, fully engorged tick, and you can actually see all of the little eggs on it. It's disgusting. It's really
so
cool,
gross,
but disgusting.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They are looking for a nice little environment to set up shop, and don't let it be your home or your hair or your pet.
Viewer discretion is advised for that video.
It's not PG. It's gross. It's gross. Any other safety tips? Any other things we can think about? Common questions you guys have had clients ask?
I've had pet parents ask what the dose is for human consumption of preventions. Do you want to address that one?
I would say don't take your pets' prevention. That is for your pets only. This is not a sharing is caring situation. But I did hear that they are working now, because Lyme is so much more prevalent. They are working on a vaccine for people. Because the prevalence of Lyme is that much more now, they are recognizing that it is a huge human health risk. So they are working on a vaccine for people. I don't know anything more other than that. I don't know anything, but I have heard. And that will be good, because rumor has it. I'm sure Avril Lavigne would have loved that.
Prior to exposure, yes.
Prior to exposure,
Yeah.
And others. We love our Canadian Canadian superstars.
And now, because the Lyme vaccine for humans isn't there yet, what can people be doing for themselves and their environment besides doing the Lyme vaccine for their pet? And prevention for their pet? What about their kids? What can we be doing on the home front?
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts?
I mean, whenever it comes to open fields or things of that nature, having pants or long socks that you can pull up over top of your pants, I would recommend, just so that they can't get in below the sock line and kind of.
I think that's in style now, wearing those really high socks too.
Only if the socks are mixed
Yeah,
up.
I think that's big with kids. No.
Yeah, we're going for golfer chic. Is that the idea?
Yeah, kind of. I've seen it a lot. You got the yoga pants tucked in, and then the high white socks.
My son calls that cringe, but yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
They have words for everything now, so. But yeah, absolutely.
Just even not giving them an access point, even if you are in some short grass, or just being diligent with having a buddy kind of look you over once you're out of those hot spots. Like the Brad Paisley song.
I was just thinking that there's
That's
a
weird.
song.
That's
I want
weird.
to check you for ticks.
I think
See,
we're
it's
going to
the
close
same.
this segment with that song.
That would be really good. I'd like to
Yes.
check you for ticks. Yeah.
I haven't heard that one, and I'm a little
What?
scared.
That is like a
Oh.
20-year-old song.
Don't
Is
Heather.
it country?
Yes.
Don't
Okay,
make
Brad
well,
Paisley.
I need you to know, as someone who grew up on a farm,
You
I
could have
did not
benefited.
want to listen to country.
Oh.
I feel like you could have benefited
you'd
from
probably
that song.
learn more about
Probably-
ticks. and
probably
how to check
would've.
for ticks. Listen
Yeah.
to that song if you want to know. Yeah. See how the same wavelength though? We were thinking about Brad
Yep.
Paisley song.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
check
have
you
the
for
link.
ticks.
We'll have the link
Yeah.
underneath here for Brad Paisley's.
Shout out Brad Paisley.
Shout out. Also, Shania Twain. I don't want to leave her out. I love
Okay,
her.
yep. Just because we do love
This-
her.
Yeah.
Does she have a tick song?
Does she have
No,
a
she
line?
doesn't have a tick song. I think she had Lyme
Oh,
disease.
she had Lyme.
Okay.
Oh,
So there it
I
is.
think-
There's the tie.
okay.
Pretty sure she had Lyme
We're gonna have to
disease.
fact check that one.
Yeah.
Well,
She doesn't have a song about it. I'm pretty sure she had it, which isn't fun.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
it's
that voice.
serious and it's painful, especially in the joints. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So that actually a good point, Heather.
yeah.
Again, brings us back. Things you want to watch for, especially if you know that your pet has been exposed to Lyme, or if you're worried. If you're worried, bring him in. But one thing to watch for is signs that are very obvious that there could be Lyme disease active and brewing. And I've seen it is it does affect the joints. So pets will often be very stiff and very painful when moving, specifically with their limbs. So that sawhorse appearance I always tell owners to watch for, where they are very stiff, they're crying, they don't want to move. It is because it's very uncomfortable. And that is one of the biggest things, that we have a dog that comes in, they're lethargic, so they're really quiet. Maybe they're not themselves. They're oftentimes running a fever. So again, that's where we will check. And that's the one thing that owners notice, is that they don't want to get up. They're really reluctant to move. They're very stiff, very uncomfortable. And it is like a sawhorse with their gait. So I think we had talked about some of the signs to watch for, but that is one of the things that we tend to see. I don't know if that's the case with people, but definitely with dogs, that's what we've seen.
Yeah, I did hear one person's experience was that their joints felt very uncomfortable, to the point that it was affecting their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
But yeah, human side of Lyme disease, we are veterinary professionals, so we're not going to know too much about that. I do know public health says that if you get bitten by a tick and you remove it, you want to save the tick and identify it, which we are happy to do for you, to tell you what kind it is. You bring it in, we'll let you know. We'll add it to our tick collection. And if it is a deer tick, public health in Grant County currently says to watch yourself for signs, including tiredness, inappetence, swelling of your lymph nodes, and pain in your joints. And if that happens within 30 days of that tick bite, they want you to tell your healthcare provider when you seek medical care what kind of tick it was. I'm going to say, if we tell you it's a deer tick, you should reach out to someone a lot sooner, because Lyme is no joke. Versus us, what do we do when we find a tick on a pet? What's our protocol?
Ooh, so we definitely want to get that tick off as quickly as we can. But that being said, you don't want to just willy-nilly rush in there, being all rammy. You do want to, there are little tick remover tools. So just ask one of your veterinary providers and they'll be able to hook you up with one of those. And it is a device aimed to remove the actual head of the tick, because you don't want to just break off the head from the body, because then the head will stay embedded. So you want to get that whole tick out of there. And then we do want to check your pet in 6 weeks with that heartworm tick test, that 40X test we talked about, to check to see if there's exposure. It does take that time frame, so it really won't be super helpful to do it that same day. You want to give that window of 6 weeks to check. And in the meantime, keep an eye on your pet. Make sure there's no lethargy, no stiffness, no reluctancy to walk, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that 6 weeks is important. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, that's usually around the time where you're going home with prevention too, just so that there's no reoccurrence of, any more ticks until you can get your 4DX done and clean bill of health.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's a good point, Megan, because you think, oh, okay, well, I got the tick off, we should be good. Well, two things there is one, that your tick is your pet is somewhere where there are ticks. So clearly we want to prevent any future ones. And second of all, it's not just the deer tick that, we want to prevent against. There are other diseases from other ticks that maybe don't get the spotlight as much, but something like anaplasma. There's a multitude of different diseases. So Lyme is definitely the hot topic one, I think, because it's much, much, much more prevalent now. So that's why we're focusing on that. But, the prevention that you're going home with, yes, prevents future Lyme positive friends from joining, but also any other ticks that could be carrying other diseases. Mm-hmm. So yes, go home with that prevention and then come back in 6 weeks and have it checked.
And then at that case, if the test comes back positive, then we're going to do that follow-up testing like we did with Megan's dog. Yeah, if your pet comes back negative, then great. We're good to continue with prevention, to continue preventing Lyme disease and other diseases as well. Two of our Lyme positive dogs last year actually were also positive for anaplasma.
Oh, well. Yeah.
So,
we talked about the mulch and the brush and all the leaves and stuff. What can we do around the house to limit the amount of ticks that like to hang out?
Mow your lawn. Ticks really like shady areas, damp areas. So if you are going to be mulching, check yourself afterwards, especially when you're pulling weeds. Keep the lawn short. I know a lot of folks participate in No Mow May for the bees. So just be mindful that also encourages tick population as well. Another thing to keep in mind would be doing the tick checks on everybody. It's actually recommended to shower within 2 hours of coming in from outside, because that's your great chance to just check everywhere. But mow the lawn, removing leaf litter is another big one. Because those ticks back in the fall, the weather was getting colder, they're trying to find a way to get warm again. So they'll actually burrow in for hibernation, because it's not just coons and bears. Yep. Ticks can hibernate as well.
Or Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant when he buries himself in
that's,
the horse.
That's a good,
okay.
That's a good comparison. Yep.
I think people would be more happy finding Leo in their yards than ticks.
Actually, imagine
depending on the
the
context.
Leonardo DiCaprio's in there. He's been there the whole winter.
Yeah.
He didn't even know.
So,
all jokes aside, in the study that found,
he's been there the whole time. Sorry, back to the yard cleanup.
We went off topic.
Yeah, because that study that showed that deer ticks carrying Lyme were twice as likely to survive the winter. Part of that study was they actually had ticks in test tubes, and they had the spots noted down, and they had those ones a certain amount of soil layer underneath leaf piles. And at -12 degrees, they pulled these test tubes out, and the ticks were still moving.
It's terrible.
They were awake.
Do you remember the cold snaps we had this winter? And I could remember my partner being like, I can't take this cold. And I'm like, we need this cold.
Yeah.
We need this cold for the ticks.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about, fleas or otherwise. I'm like, we need those sharp snaps of frigid sub-zero temperatures to kill off the ticks in general, and keep certain diseases at bay, obviously.
Right, and you kind of don't want the snow, because the snow adds a nice insulating layer across the soil and traps the heat in the soil, which the ticks were like, yay, and we're all suffering for it now.
Yeah. So yard maintenance for sure. Rake up those leaves, get them out of there. Keep those your grass cut nice and short, so they really don't have an opportunity to build large nests. And watch out for any Leonardo DiCaprios.
Yeah, try to rake those up too.
I think that's a great spot to end our TikTok. Sorry, there was no viral dances incorporated, but I really like our TikTok. I think it's pretty good.
There's always episode 2.
But we do have a TikTok as well. Again,
We do.
the Barket Beaties. So follow, and subscribe.
Give us some ideas of what you want us to talk about or address, because that's why we're here. We're here for for the clients, the pet parents that have questions, and we have the answers.
We do.
And if there's anything on this topic that you feel that you wish we could have talked more about, send us a message. Let us know your questions, and we'll do a Q&A once we've racked up a few podcast episodes.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So thank you so much for making it this far in.
Yes.
And we look forward to discussing more hot topics in veterinary medicine. Thanks, guys, for joining in, and we'll catch you next time.
We'll see you next time. Yeah.